April 30. In his address last night, President Duterte admitted government is getting desperate as it is under pressure to spend money even if it is not generating enough revenues due to slower economic activity. President Duterte said the 100 billion for 1 month or 270 billion for 2 months as estimated earlier is not enough. I'm calling on the Secretary of Finance to generate, according as quoting President Duterte, magnakaw ka, manghiram ka, mag-produce ka ng pera, pag naubos na ito, di ko na alam. President Duterte also said, we are finding ways to adjust the budget. We will prioritize the people, the stomach. If they have nothing to eat, a human being can become violent. So there we go. We will be hearing more about that, but there is a pushback from the medical group because the worry is that while the government might do the extension up to April 30, the medical practitioners are saying that might not be long enough. The estimation is that the quarantine should be anywhere between 60 to 75 days total because that's the only time when we will really see the plateau or the curve flattening. In any case, an update on the number of new COVID cases in the Philippines. It has reached 414 cases with 111 additional deaths, 9 new recoveries. So the total cases right now is 3,660. The total deaths is 163, total recoveries is 673. The DOH reports that over 22,000 people have been tested and no, more than 22,000. It's now at the 22,958 tests in total. 16,000 or 615 or 82.7% of those tested turned out negative. Number more than people tested, okay, some had to take multiple tests, okay. Now, finally, the cyber police or law enforcement officers of the PNP Anti-Cybercrime Group said yesterday 24 suspects were rounded up, spreading false information about COVID-19 on social media, while the rest were accosted for allegedly spreading misinformation in their neighborhood. Finally, a pastor was nabbed for holding church service in Cagayan de Oro. And he's not the only one. Apparently, there's one more in the U.S. who was also nabbed for doing the same thing. At least 500 church members who attended the service, including children, senior citizens, and persons with disability were recorded. The pastor named Kaslam, pastor was identified as Alfred Kaslam, founder of Word of God, Spirit and Life Ministries. Kaslam has apologized, saying he did not expect the number of attendees to be that high. He also explained that their seating arrangement complied with social distancing policy. Okay, now let's move on for our first interview. We have with us the president of PhilHealth, president and CEO of PhilHealth, retired General Ricardo Morales. He is a retired Army general and is now was formerly with the MWSS and now with PhilHealth. Sir, good morning to you.
Good morning, Cito, and to all your listeners. Good morning and stay healthy.
Okay, same to you, sir. And I guess the first question is, what is the status? What is your status as far as your PhilHealth clients are concerned? I know you're a retired Army general, and I'm sure you want updates on a regular basis. What are the field officials telling you regarding claims, regarding the
Mhm.
number of filing, etc.? Lumalaki ba or are we still on the normal?
Well, may changes from the usual year ago statistics. We have a drop in claims submission. This is because many of the hospitals and the offices are working at skeletal force. So siguro hindi
Mm-hmm.
sila magkatupag, the administrative work. And of course, the hospitals are focused on preparing and responding to the COVID-19 threat. So there is a drop in our benefit claims. However, we have prepared a war chest, no? As
Mm-hmm.
we announced, we prepared about 30 billion approved by the board, and this will be advanced to the hospitals so that they will have the necessary liquidity to respond to the spike, the anticipated spike in COVID cases when that happens. So far, we
Can
have,
you
yes.
Can you please clarify that policy? Because we just want people to understand what exactly the directive was from your office. Because some of the reports we gathered was nagpa-release na kayo ng pera in advance. It's like you released money to all of these hospitals as a buffer because you expected that there were going to be a lot of the financial demands on these hospitals. And so in advance nyo na lang muna and then settlement to be done later. Is that the case or have we misinterpreted that?
No, that's correct. This is a cash advance, equivalent
Okay.
to a 90-day claims, historical 90-day claim benefit of this hospital. So, for example, I will cite the UPPGH, which we provided about 263 million. That's equivalent to their claims for 90 days last year in 2019. So,
Okay.
naka-advance sa kanila yan so that kung may kailangan sila, meron silang pera.
Okay, that's highly commendable and very proactive on your part and the PhilHealth. So hindi na nila po problemahin saan sila kukuha ng bala as if they were in the battle zone. Now, what
Immediately, meron
about
na.
okay, what about in terms of documentation, accountability? Do we worry about that less? We'll just worry about it later. Is that still a concern, a major concern for you?
Yeah. Right now, we're covered. They were covered by a contract and memorandum of agreement within the hospitals and PhilHealth, and they will liquidate this later on. And
Okay.
then we have given them about 120 days with which to file. No? So, dati, 60 days yan eh. So, ginawa natin 120 days to give them enough time to focus on the really urgent task of attending to patients.
I'm sure you have spotters on the ground or you have people, sabi nga nila point men, as the army would say. I'm sure you have point men on the ground. What is the situation like? Will that 90-day advance cover the cost? Is it covering or mauubusan ba? Because no less than our President Rodrigo Duterte has publicly explained that he's very concerned about funding because medyo no one was ever prepared for this kind of disaster and this pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me cite some statistics. The highest running bill we have right now is about 3.2 million. Now, if all the 3,660 active cases right now develop into a full-blown acute or critical case requiring 3.2 million, that will be equivalent to about 11 billion. We have prepared 30 billion, so we're still okay.
Okay, so you're covering the current cases will be 30% of what you've allotted.
About that, yes, about that.
Okay. So medyo okay naman kayo dyan. Now, my biggest concern is, will you be able to sustain it and for how long? Because nobody wants this and nobody is prepared for it. But how long can you sustain this?
You know, that question keeps me awake at night. How
I'm
long
sorry for that, sir.
how long and how deep is this going to be? That's why we will be
Yes,
lowering the bar, not really lowering the bar, but applying a case rate on April 15, no? April 15.
yes.
So that by that time, we will know what it will take to cure the disease. Alam na natin kung anong gamot, anong confinement period, anong regime, anong protocol, so that we will now input sustainability into the program.
Mhm.
Right now, it's still data gathering. After April 14, it's going to be sustainability. Yeah, I think we can manage so far no with the data on the ground. Iba kasi yung mga forecast, iba rin yung data on the ground eh. So the data on the ground tells
Yeah,
us that we're still okay.
you're still okay. Now, are you going to be strict on the protocol? Kasi may mga nagsasabi sa akin, Sito, baka mamaya we start applying or using medication that's not in the formulary or that's not in the standard practice. Baka mamaya sabihin ng PhilHealth, you cannot claim that, sorry, ganyan talaga ang buhay. Because as you know, there's a big debate regarding this hydroxychloroquine and
Yeah.
combined with azithromycin, combined with zinc, yung triple punch sabi nila, but it's not on the standard mode of treatment. What happens when doctors and physicians and hospitals apply non-traditional treatments? Can they still get the reimbursements?
Well, the case has to be diagnosed by a accredited physician. Yung
Okay.
diagnosis would be accredited physician, and then according to the case rate. Now we have identified four levels of severity: the mild, moderate, severe, and critical. We're worried about the critical, no?
Okay.
So we will have to follow that. But I think, Sito, the most important is I'm about to suggest to the interagency task force na yung mga nagbabiolate ng protocol, those who violate the social distancing and the ECQ guidelines, must be cited, titikitan, lalagyan ng listahan so that when these people get sick, uh, they will be, they get sick knowing fully well that getting sick is a burden on our financial system, on our funds. So dapat siguro
Yeah.
may sanction yung mga yun na nagbabiolate ng we have substantial funds, PhilHealth has, but hindi naman unlimited.
Okay. Now, what other recommendations are you going to submit to the interagency task force? Because at the end of the day, you're paying it's your agency that's footing the bill.
Well, a stricter implementation of the quarantine and the social distancing observation risk guidelines. Because you go out in the street and in certain areas you saw there's no social distancing, there's no enhanced community quarantine. Everybody's out there, and when then they start, so it brings into mind the question, bakit hindi nagkakasakit itong mga to, no? Uh, may immunity ba itong mga communities na to? But nevertheless, we should not be complacent. We should take the proper precautions. We don't know. We don't know. It's still too early to tell. We must not let our guard down.
Okay. What about your staff? Because you mentioned you're in the office. I was quite surprised when you said you're in the office, kasi I don't know if you fall under essentials or frontliner. Parang
Yeah.
teka, kailangan ba kayong pumasok?
Well, I have to sign the contracts. I have to make sure that the funds are, authorized to be released. That's why we were frontliners from day one. Lalo na yung mga PKs natin sito, nandun sila sa mga hospitals. They're doing all the
Yes.
paperwork. They're meeting all these health. They're classified as public health workers. So yes, our PKers, I really salute them. They're at the front lines, and all health workers, we really owe them a great debt that is still unpayable.
For the sake of our viewers, ladies and gentlemen, what General Morales is referring to as PCARES, that is the PhilHealth representative in various public
In that.
hospitals,
Mhm.
and they're the ones who are processing the applications, guiding the patients who need help within the premises. Malaking bagay po ito. And I'm surprised, sir, that they're on the ground because, I mean, normally people would say, hindi ka naman nurse, hindi ka naman doktor, umuwi ka na lang. So the PCare staff are all there and they're performing their duty.
Yes, they are. Also in private
What about
hospitals.
your regional offices? What's the activity at those levels? Stay at home ba sila, work from home, or are they also required to report for work just like you, sir?
Well, skeletal staff but fully functional. Skeletal staff but fully functional. Lalo na yung mga documentation. We're gathering data sa mga COVID patients. Running bill, magkano na ang ginastos so that we can firm
Mhm.
up our case rate. So, they're there. They're out there. Our people in the field.
Last question, sir. May I know, have you averaged out the current cost of treatment for COVID-19 patients? Because alam ko merong pa-testing and they say it's about 1,800. What are the costs? Can you do a breakdown of these costs for consultation, treatment, testing, and treatment?
Iba-iba pa kasi yung pumapasok na testing eh. Merong 750, may 1,500, merong 8,000. So it depends. We're still getting it together. That's why we will, about this week, we will release the guidelines so that for purposes of planning. But it's too early to tell. It's too early to tell. But we're still okay. We're still okay. At the rate that we're going and the data from the ground, we're still ahead. Very slightly ahead lang.
Okay, well, I just pray, we hope, we pray that you stay constantly ahead and that we reach the flattening or the plateau very soon. Thank you very much for your time, General Ricardo Morales, PhilHealth President CEO. Please stay strong, stay healthy, and stay safe, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning.
Okay, that was retired General Rick Morales of the PhilHealth, and now we move to our correspondent, JC COSICO. He is at the studio. John Christian, JC COSICO. Magandang umaga sa'yo, JC. How are you doing? I understand that some of our staff and colleagues at TV5 and Signal or One News PH naapektuhan na nitong COVID-19 or were placed under quarantine. What's your situation and our team members?
Yes, iba sa ngayon naman tuloy pa rin yung ating duty nga sa labas, no? And but we are still practicing yung ating mga safety measures. We have disinfectants in our bags and syempre yung mga face mask para nga makaiwas tayo dito sa COVID-19. Sito.
Okay, I'm actually surprised, JC, kasi ako grounded ako dahil senior citizen daw ako, stay at home ako, and medyo masama ang loob ko. I want to go out in the field, but people are telling me you guys are taking unnecessary risk, pero kino-cover mo pa rin sila Secretary Lito Galvez, si Vince Dizon ng BCDA. Can you give us an update on the people you've covered this week?
Yes, ito ganoon na nga yesterday, we actually covered itong inspection nito mga members ng cabinet, particularly sina Health Secretary Francisco Duque III, sina Defense Chief Delfin Lorenzana, sina National Task Force Against COVID-19 Chief Implementer Carlito Galvez Jr. at BCDA President and CEO Vince Dizon doon sa kanilang inspection sa tatlong malalaking facilities which will be used as quarantine sites for mild and asymptomatic COVID-19 patients. Ang kanilang mga in-inspect kahapon, itong Ninoy Aquino Stadium sa Maynila at itong World Trade Center at itong PICC, both in Pasay City, again, which will be used as quarantine sites nga para sa mga COVID-19 patients. All these three facilities ito inaasahan na matatapos ngayong linggo at these can accommodate around 1,000 patients.
Okay, 1,000 patients only? Malaki-laki, JC, yung ano, yung Rizal Memorial, or is it 1,000 per venue?
Sito, for the Ninoy Aquino Stadium, they can accommodate 112 patients. Doon naman sa
Oh,
PICC, they can accommodate around 300 patients. And doon naman sa World Trade Center, they can accommodate around 502 patients. So in total, around 1,000 na patients ito. At inaasahan nga na for the Ninoy Aquino Stadium na nasa loob ng Rizal Sports Complex, ay inaasahan na maging operational siya tomorrow, Wednesday, habang ito namang yung PICC expected naman siya na maging operational on Friday, and by the weekend yung World Trade Center. Now doon sa Ninoy Aquino Stadium, merong kanya-kanyang cubicle, yung mga pasyente, meron silang kanya-kanyang beds, una na side table, upuan, at saka ilaw. Pero doon naman sa World Trade Center at sa PICC as of now or as of yesterday ay patuloy pa rin nga yung construction doon.
okay. So the reason I was surprised kasi medyo malalaki yung lugar na yon, like the Ninoy Aquino. It's funny, JC, sabi ko Rizal Memorial at sabi mo Ninoy Aquino Stadium. Medyo nakikita yung kaibahan ng edad nating dalawa to the generational perspective there. In any case, so obviously they're not using all of the available space of those areas because like PICC can accommodate so many people. You can put 1,000 plus to 2,000 people there because napakalawak naman yun. So sa nakita mo, or I'm sure you were listening in on the discussion, did you sense did you sense a desperation or parang nagmamadali na kailangan matapos na yan, or parang sige, just keep working because this is just a just-in-case provision?
Yes, Sito, actually, they are saying na talagang proactive measure nila ito. Itong ginagawa nga nilang pagtatayo nga ng mga quarantine sites or yung mga conversion rather noong mga facilities into quarantine centers. Now, these centers will be manned by AFP and the PNP, yung mga medical staff of both parties. Now, ang sinasabi ng AFP, ang concern nila, baka naman hindi nila kayang mapunan kasi nga madami yung pasyente na inaasahan. So, ang sinasabi naman ng DOH, they are ready to augment in the event na mangailangan pa nga ng additional na medical forces. Doon sa sinasabi mo, Sito, na sa spaces, yung sa PICC, ang gagamitin nila is yung mga forum halls na ngayon nga ay patuloy pa rin yung construction doon ng mga cubicles. Sito.
Okay. Now, JC, forgive me for really eating up your time, but kailangan kasi naming malaman, regarding these PUIs and PUMs, I mean, most of them aren't really sick. Hindi naman yan yung mga talagang ano ba ang usapan kung sino yung dadali na, ano ang kanilang explanation or kanilang standards para ang tao ay madala dyan. Kasi may mga nagtatanong pa rin, na-expose lang ako sa isang may sakit pero hindi naman ako may sakit. Paano ang sistema?
Yes, Sito. Ang sinasabi kasi ng DOH, kaya nga nila sinaset up itong mga quarantine centers na ito ay para ma-decongest yung mga hospitals. Ibig sabihin, yung mga severe COVID patients, yung mga kailangan i-intubate, sila yung naandun sa mga hospital. Now, these quarantine centers are for the mild and asymptomatic COVID-19 patients. So sila yung mga hina-house dito o yung i-house dito sa mga nabanggit nga ng mga quarantine centers. And ang sabi naman ng DOH, in the event na mas nangailangan na yung demand is mas mataas yung number ng PUIs, they will also reconsider na possible daw na hindi lamang mga COVID positive or maging yung mga PUI and yung mga PUM sa COVID-19 ay i-house na rin dito sa mga facilities na ito. Sito?
So you have to be tested first, or kung meron kang mga signs or symptoms?
Yes, ito gano'n na nga yung sinasabi ng DOH. Kaya nga kung may mild symptoms ka ng COVID-19, ay pasok ka dito, pwede kang madala dito nga sa mga facilities na ito. Pero yung sistema, referral siya. Kumbaga, referral ng LGU or ng hospital kasi inaasahan nga na by tomorrow ay may yung mga first batch ng mga COVID positive patients ay maililipat na dito sa Ninoy Aquino Stadium, yung mga galing sa PGH, sa Lung Center of the Philippines at sa Tala Hospital. Sito.
Yun ba yung sinasabi na clear ngayon sa PGH? Because I picked up some news that the PGH or one of the major government hospitals are now slowly being transferred. Hindi lang nasabi kung saan sila tinransfer.
Yes, ito, yun yung sinasabi ni DOH Chief sa SecDuque yesterday, na yun nga, inaasahan nila yung mga pasyente ng PGH, yung mga mild and symptomatic COVID-19 patients ay maitransfer na nga dito sa Ninoy Aquino Stadium para nga ma-decongest na nga yung mga hospitals. And again, ay yung mga nasa hospital lamang dapat ay yung mga severe na kaso ng COVID-19 na nangangailangan nga ng mas matinding atensyon. For example, again, yung mga kailangang intubate.
Okay, so the Ninoy Aquino Stadium will be open tomorrow or will be receiving transferees tomorrow. What about the World Trade Center and what about PICC?
The World Trade Center, expected siya na maging operational by Sunday. Tapos yun namang the Philippine International Convention Center, yung PICC, expected naman siya na maging operational by Friday. Sito.
Okay, well, that's a great update, JC, and I hope that you are staying safe, staying strong, and staying healthy. Hindi ka pa naman nadi-discriminate sa sarili mong bahay, JC.
Thankfully, sa ngayon, Sito, ako lang mag-isa ngayon sa bahay. So, wala naman discrimination so far.
Okay. Pag may nang-discriminate sa'yo, multo na yun, bro. Okay, thank you very much, JC. Stay healthy, stay strong, stay safe. We'll go for a break, but we'll be right back here on Agenda. back on agenda here on One News Signal TV. I'm Cito Beltran, and we continue to try to do our best to give you as much information as we can and on how to cope with COVID-19 and, of course, the Luzon-wide quarantine. Now, next we have for our interviews RONILO BALBIERAN. He is the Vice President of Business and Development of the Research, Education, and Institutional Development Foundation. He is also the founder and president of the consulting firm Arsocos Corporation. Ron is one of my favorite go-to guys as far as economists are concerned, because he gives a very practical perspective to things. Ron, welcome to the show.
Welcome po, welcome po. Thank you po for inviting me.
Okay. Okay, Ron, lagi naman tayo nag-uusap tungkol when it comes to economics, and you are the one who actually gave me my introduction to Economics 101 dahil binagsak ko yung Economics 11 ko. But seriously speaking, there's been a lot of talk on what's going to happen to the economy. First and foremost, many businessmen have been pressuring governments all over the world to lift their lockdowns at the soonest possible time, citing the argument that prolonged lockdowns can be lethal. We're not talking about, negative or anything. They're using the word lethal to the economy. And that's one point. So, ang argument nila, the shorter the lockdowns, the quicker the recovery. Now, the second is the talk that's been going around among employers, economists, etc., that there will be a global recession and magkakaubusan ng trabaho, magkakaroon ng reduction of productivity, there will be problems in trade, exports, etc. What's your view on all of this? How do you assess? Ano bang magiging situation from your experience and your expertise? What will the picture look like after 1 month, after 2 months, after 6 months?
Okay, sir. I think kailangan natin bigyan muna ng framework so before we analyze everything here. So first of all, I think our viewers need to understand that economy is actually made up of people. So people are actually our workforce on the supply side, but at the same time, people is our consumers on the demand side, the market side. So it's very important that economy is not money, but economy is actually the people. So in analyzing an economy, do we have enough people to actually generate the production so that we can supply what we need? And therefore, on the market side, do we have enough consumers that will actually consume and generate that market demand to sustain an economy? So supply side and demand side, parehong people yun. So when we are trying to analyze, right now it's very difficult to analyze what's going to happen 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. But it's important that we have this understanding that when we analyze an economy, we start with people. Ano ba mangyayari sa mga tao natin? So, and therefore, sino-sino ba yung profile ng mga consumers natin? For example, in the Philippine economy, in the context of the global economy. So, even prior to this pandemic, population around the world is already aging. And so there is really a slowdown in the global economy because of that aging. So in July last year, the United Nations Development Program released for the first time a report really sounding that alarm that we are aging. So pagdating dito ngayon sa COVID, so now kagulo na tayo, maraming may sakit, etc., etc. So ang tanong is, what will stay or what are still ongoing as far as our economy is concerned? Sino ba yung naapektuhan ng ECQ, ng lockdown? At sino ba yung nagpapatuloy? And therefore, kapag nawala tong ECQ, what will actually resume and what will actually expand? So I think that's the framework that we're doing. So in analyzing that, I think I will just point out three things. So number one, the profile of our people. Then number two, the level of fundamental resources that we have. So do we have the cash? So yesterday, last night, the president keeps on going back na we don't have enough. We don't have enough. The cash may run out. So it's important gaano ba kalaki yung laman ng war chest natin, and number two, how much can we actually borrow without actually getting into deeper trouble. Di ba? So, pwedeng wala na tayong cash, pero baka pwede pa tayong umutang. Pero the next question is, baka bauna tayo sa utang at hindi na tayo makakautang. So, I think that's the second question. So let's try to answer that one at a time. So, in this ECQ, ano ba yung tumigil? Ang tumigil lang naman is transportation and then a lot of other activities. So, I'm trying to trace our economy. So our economy is basically 74% consumption. So, doon sa 74% consumption po na yon, 42% is actually food. So, a lot of it, we cannot imagine a situation that food will actually stop. That's why it's very important to understand, I think the government really understand it, that we need to put it out there so much cash. It doesn't really matter. Kahit kanino pupunta yan, mas maganda kung doon sa poorest of the poor. But the most important thing is to continuously fueling demand, because our economy is primarily consumption-led. So, sino yung mawawala? Mawawala doon sa, if we're talking about the 74%, yun ang pinakamalaki doon sa ating economy, 74% consumption. 42%, so halos kalahati ng buong consumption natin, food. Ano pa yung, so hindi medyo mawawala yung food. Di tayo titigil. Okay. Ano susunod doon? 12% miscellaneous. So yun yung next biggest item in our basket as a consumer. So ano po yung miscellaneous? Yan yung mga kung ano-ano. So lipstick, gel, pabango. So actually, hindi pa. Ano lang to, mga miscellaneous lang, mga pangpakolorete sa katawan.
Only personal consumption level. Okay, damit.
Yes, personal effects. Yan. So ang tanong ko sa sarili ko, Sir Sito, is ngayong lockdown, nagli-lipstick pa ba ang ating mga kababaihan? Ayan ang mga malalaking component dyan. Nagja-gel pa ba tayo? I would imagine, ito naman pa, on the lighter mode, I think Filipinos would still buy some of those items because we still need to face this video conferencing, so we still need to look good. So kayo, medyo mukhang nag-gel pa kayo ngayong interview. So I think that 12% will not completely disappear. Okay, and then next is transportation, 11%, the third largest. So sa tingin natin, yung transportation demand will completely slow down. So 11%. Ang susunod na doon, mga minor items na. So yung restaurants, food outside home, recreation, tourism. So in short, hindi naman tayo nasa super desperation mode from the point of view of that 74%. So we're still solid as long as government will, number one, will find a way to actually reach out to the poorest of the poor. And then number two, our business sector will find a way to actually continually employ the workers. So, and I'm glad to see that the entrepreneurial spirit of our Filipinos, yung mga businessmen, yung mga small businesses are actually finding ways to actually become relevant, both on a social and a business perspective. So, yung kaibigan namin...
In essence, Ron, what you're saying is, because we are a consumption-driven economy, and because 42% of that consumption is largely food-based, tumatakbo pa rin yung gulong ng economy. The wheel of the economic wheel is still grinding, is still turning, much slower, much smaller, but nonetheless still going forward.
Yes, sir. In a way, sir, we have more or less rehearsed for it with the Yolanda. Kasi sa Yolanda na-delay yung ating cash. 'Di ba yung mga cash for work, yung mga cash dole outs, medyo na-delay yon. So ang dumami doon, ang bumaha doon actually mga donation of boats. So in Economics 101, you don't do that. Parang inassume na lang ng lahat ng tao since isla ang Leyte at Samar, eh nangingisda silang lahat doon. But Economics 101 tells you na the starting point of an economic engine is spending. Spending will be fueled by cash. Pagka walang cash, walang purchasing power, walang production, walang employment, walang income, walang babalik na spending. So apat lang po yung tinetrace natin na yun.
Okay. So in essence, ang issue, we should not be concerned about government spending at the moment, because even in the United States, that's what Donald Trump is trying to do. He wants to put money into the businesses, small and medium enterprise. He wants to put money in the pockets of the unemployed, of basically every American. And much as we would like to do that, that is what the government is trying to do in the Philippines, because in the long term, for as long as stores are selling, farmers are selling, people are eating, people are buying, iikot pa rin. The economy will keep moving forward and the recovery will be easier. So it's not a doomsday scenario kasi marami sa amin, and me included, I have to confess, I'm beginning to think doomsday because, you know, everybody keeps saying, oh, businesses will be closing down, etc. May slowdown lang. So in essence, Ron, para lang tayo na forced vacation, para ka lang na hospital, hindi ka nakatrabaho, you can't go to work, you're not earning money, you're spending money, but nonetheless, when you get better, you will get back on the job.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If I may try to share my screen, I'll show you the pie chart.
Well, unfortunately, Ron, I don't think that's going to work under the current technology. But and we're down to a minute, bro. So
Okay.
just one last question, Ron. How soon before we get back on the horse, as they say?
It's not in the area of my expertise. It will be really the call of the doctors. But what's important here is how we will actually rearrange our household activities and our businesses to continue surviving. So we have to maintain that minimum level of consumption and minimum level of business activities so that we make sure that we are still alive once this is done. Then once this is done, I'm very, very positive na sisipa ng todo yung economy natin because hindi naman natin pwedeng gibain yung mga tourism natin, di ba? So yung mga restaurants, hotels,
Correct.
resorts are all waiting there. And sino ang pupunta? Hindi naman natin expect na yung mga Chinese and Koreans and other foreign tourists will be going to the Philippines. But inip na yung ating mga pamilya sa loob ng bahay, and I can imagine a boom in tourism once this is done. And that is a great stimulus after all this is completed.
Actually, I saw that on Facebook. I thought it was fake news, but we checked on Snope and we checked in the we checked the news source. In China, talagang dumami, nag-overload naman on tourism, and some of their tourist destinations broke records because people just got out of their homes and everybody traveled. So as far as fuel, travel, tourism, it will be a locally generated recovery, I suppose. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. Yes, sir. And mas dagdag yon sa Pilipinas more than any place in the world because we are one of the youngest countries in the world with average age of 23 years old. So you can imagine preventing that free spirit of young people going out of the country kasi inip na sa bahay nila. And if I may add, This
Yes,
is,
go
as
ahead.
we speak, the e-commerce is really really exploding right now. So yan ang ating parang ang ating saving glory. So pwede palang i-e-commerce ang agriculture, pwede palang i-e-commerce ang consumption, pwede palang i-e-commerce ang payment. So lahat ng ito nag-e-explode as we speak. If I may share, so I was part of this
Yes.
group na, 'di ba nabalitaan nyo yung mga gulay sa north na
Yeah.
bubulok, tinatapon, because there are a series of middlemen and traders na may, as you go along, may tinatawag na information decay. Hindi na alam ng farmers kung may bibili pa ba sa kanila o hindi. So sa takot nila, tinatapon na lang nila. But yung group na yun, you can search Gulay ng Bayan. It was just launched yesterday. So they put
Okay.
together all the platforms, lahat ng mga experts sa supply chain, sa agri-tech, digital payments. So nagsama-sama sila. So everybody's on board now, so we're testing it. So from the farmers all the way to the doorstep of the households, you can actually put them all on board on a digital platform na end-to-end supply chain. And different technologies, hindi lang to one player, different technologies talking to one another. So that's the beauty of
And and hi-
technology.
and hindi yan pang Metro Manila lang because even farmers are already IT capable. They already on the smartphone. So malaking tulong yan. You're basically eliminating the middlemen who are putting on so much profit. In any case,
Yes, sir.
Ron, I have to end it at that. Malaking bagay. Thank you for the interpretation, the analysis, and I think at the end of the day, what we're saying is, what's happening is, parang we all got
Don't
sick,
fear.
we, we all got sick, and we all needed to take a rest, and then we can all go back to work. Parang ganun na nangyari sa
Yeah,
economy
yes,
natin.
sir. I think
Okay,
the greatest enemy of our economy is fear.
okay.
So
Thank you very much.
just continue
Okay, thank
consuming,
you.
you can save the world.
Okay, continue eating, wag lang magpapataba. Thank you, Ron Balbiran, our economics consultant there. Now let's go to Mario Maki Maderazo for a little bit of good news. Ron ended the interview with talk about this platform for Gulay ng Bayan. Now let's talk to Maki Maderazo. He's representing a group that put together Ideals. If I'm not mistaken, it's a online legal counsel service. Maki, good morning to you.
Hindi ko marinig.
Maki, I can hear you, Maki. Okay, I think Maki's having.
Yes.
Maki,
Yes,
are you
go
there?
ahead. Sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
no problem. So Maki, can you please tell our viewers what this
Yeah.
Ideals is all about?
Ideals is a legal group that provides legal aid to uh, providing legal aid to the poor communities, and we have been doing during this emergency. We are providing free legal consultation online, and at the same time, we are providing legal rights education because we think at this time of emergency, it's important that people know their rights, their responsibilities, and the remedies that they can take, especially with this lockdown, that much of the rights of people are restricted, like their yung movement nila, right to travel, and even their economic rights. Economic rights, for instance, in the consultation that we have, a lot of them are laborers, wage earners, vendors, janitors, and they don't have access to information. And information is very important for them, not only to protect their health, but at the same time to protect their rights in this time of emergency.
Okay, but You are only giving them advice. You're not actually representing them or going to court with them, are you?
We have yet to explore that, but although in our work before, prior to this emergency, we are doing that actually to our partner communities. We're representing indigent clients in certain cases. But for now, we're only limited to providing consultation. But given with the extension of this lockdown, we might as well consider that, but we'll also consider our resources and the personnel that we have.
I know you've just put up the platform, but have you already received any requests or any appeals for legal advice or representation?
Yes, we have actually a lot, but we're saying that at this moment we can only give legal advice and referring them to the government agencies like to the DOLE or to the DSWD if ever they have problems. So we're limited to that at the moment, but at the same time, we're also doing, as I said, legal rights education through the infographics that we translated in Filipino, although the government agencies have this in their websites. But then again, we are targeting people, the ordinary people who have no access to technology. They have the Facebook, they can call us. So in a way, it's a legal first aid in this time of crisis.
Okay, Maki, do you have a TV monitor on or another speaker that's working because it's feedback, giving a feedback on our line? Okay, that seems to be better. That seems to be better. Okay, Maki, are you not worried that your program or your legal assistance might be misinterpreted by other people as you being kumbaga ano consentidor or aiding and abetting people in non-compliance of COVID, like what happened to Chel Jokno?
I think it's already part of ano eh, given na yan dun sa work that we've been doing in the past. Ideals, for instance, have been working on in Yolanda crisis, in Marawi siege, providing support to the displaced communities. And but for now, we have considered that in our work, but we see nothing wrong in informing people because part of the right to health is the right to information, not only accessing this access to these public services, health services, but also information not only about their rights, but information about their yes, about their rights, and not only about their health.
Okay, I don't want to be remiss about this. So, do you have a hotline, or how do people get in touch with you if they have legal issues? Of course, there are problems that's happening. Like we picked up this report of a barangay tanod who was beaten up in Laguna by people who wanted to cross the checkpoint and were not allowed. We, of course, have heard other stories of people who were prevented from entering their dormitories or their barangays because they were health workers. How do people get in touch with you, Maki?
We have our Facebook page available, and our number is indicated there, and we have a hotline, and we prioritize the calls like what you mentioned, the cases that you mentioned, because we are also receiving other legal other questions other than the current crisis, like yung marital problems, but we are prioritizing this type of cases whenever they refer to us.
I mean, it's amusing that you mentioned people consulting marital problems. I suppose when you have been on lockdown for since March 17, those
Yes.
marital problems are going to be enhanced, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay.
They find this yung opportunity nandito. So they've been asking been wanting to ask this question before, but with the available opportunity they are asking it now.
Okay, well, we'll leave it at that. Maki, thank you very much for joining us today. And thank you for your efforts to give legal assistance, legal advice to the public. And it's good to know that, number one, it's not limited just to the quarantine, but also has to do with other issues. And number two, that you are in fact coordinating with the national government or agencies when you can. Thank you very much, MADERAZO.
Thank you, Sito.
Okay, that was Maki Maderazo of the Initiative for Dialogue and Empowerment through Alternative Legal Services, or IDEALS. They have a Facebook page, just look them up or Google them. That's about it for us today. We just want to make a few reminders that while people are still debating over the extension or when the Luzon-wide quarantine is going to end or whether there's going to be an extension, for how long, please realize, bear in mind that we've all made personal sacrifices to stay safe, to stay healthy, to stay strong. And let's not get reckless, whether it's lifted next week or at the end of the month. We need to be responsible because the fact is there is still no vaccine. I know that companies like Pfizer and all these other pharmaceuticals are working double time. The United States is working double time to get those vaccines, but the projection is 6 to 18 months. In the meantime, when you are let loose, please don't go crazy because you can still get it. It's still out there. It's global. It's worldwide. Let's not take chances. Let's not risk our health. I'm Cito Beltran. That's today's agenda. May God bless all of you. May God be with you. May God give you provision, keep you safe, strong, and healthy. We love you. Take care of yourselves.